It's just kind of incredible. Anyway, we're going to talk about Minnesota. Again, I'm eager to hear what our guests think about Amy Klobuchar's long statement in reaction to the recent events. She was on MS Now last night. Remember, every time I say MSNBC, I have to put $40,000 in the swear jar. I almost said it, but I didn't. And when I said it just now, it was in quotes. MS Now, Klobuchar was on last night. She spoke again today, finally out of her hibernation. So we'll look at that. All right, gentlemen, as we said at the beginning, the president, the Justice Department, according to Jennifer Jacobs and her CBS colleagues, is investigating the governor and the mayor and others for breaking the law by impeding federal investigations. Ed, two-part question, violating my rule against two-part questions. Is there a precedent for this? Has the federal government, Justice Department, ever indicted a governor for obstruction of federal activity? And do you think that anything will come of this investigation?
Well, I don't know the precedent. I have to think long and hard about that, going back to the Civil War.
Yeah.
But certainly not in recent history.
Yeah.
But what about just the premise? Again, I know what Blue America is going to think, but Red America thinks people that are here illegally should be apprehended. And interference with that lawful function is, by definition, potentially a crime in and of itself. What about that? And what constitutes interference? I think it's fair game. And everybody's doubling down over at the White House. Nobody's backing away from what's going on in Minnesota.
Yeah.
More is coming, not less.
Yeah, that's true. Even their solution to the bad poll numbers, as we understand it, is to do more to get it back on the train they want, and also maybe to reduce some of the pictures coming there. Brian, if you were an advisor to the governor of Minnesota and he said, Brian, could I really be indicted for this? What would you tell him?
Well, look, anything's possible with this administration. I think as what you talked about, Mark, in the beginning, and the weaponization that's going on, Minnesota just happens to be a state that actually it's stuck. If you think about what happened to California, what happened to Illinois, what happened to New York, and this has just happened to be ground zero. Minnesota, we probably would have never predicted it, but it is. I think Amy Klobuchar, by the way, if you noticed what she did this morning, she pivoted from the law enforcement in Minnesota being overtaken by ICE. So she's really playing to the constituents of Minnesota. And I think that she's really driving that point home. ICE doesn't have that good of a reputation anywhere, but particularly in Minnesota now. So I think she did the right thing by a direct correlation between law enforcement in Minnesota versus ICE in Minnesota.
Yes, sir.
And, she did that while speaking to principals, students, and schools.
Yes,
and
sir.
I thought that was just like a brilliant entree for Amy Klobuchar to rise into this conversation.
Well said. And I want to come back to Klobuchar in a second, but I want to give you some more breaking news. The Washington Post also reporting that there is a federal criminal investigation, and they say subpoenas have gone out to the governor and to the mayor. And here's what they say. The subpoena suggests that the Justice Department is examining whether Walz and Fry's public statements disparaging the surge of officers and federal actions have amounted to criminal interference in law enforcement work. The law under which they are investigating the two officials, a federal statute on conspiracy to impede a federal investigation, is similar to the charges filed against protesters whom federal officials allege have attempted to block immigration officers as they do their work. Kind of incredible. Okay, let's go to Senator Klobuchar. You all are following this. I know maybe not the way a journalist might, but you're following closely. Ed, up until yesterday, had you seen Amy Klobuchar speak out on this story? Had you seen her on television? No,
I have not.
Brian, yeah, go ahead.
And I hope that Amy Klobuchar is still the type of Democrat that can get a nomination in Minnesota or anywhere else. I think well of her.
Yeah.
She's among the reasonable.
Yeah. Brian, had you seen her on TV before the last 24 hours?
No, absolutely not. And
okay.
I think that this was, by the way, and Ed knows as politics go, I think that she was, very orchestrated, very well thought out. It was very, I wouldn't say rehearsed, but it was very planned to be in that forum.
Right.
And that,
Okay. We're gonna show that in a second, but just this is an interesting story to me. The last time A.B. Klobuchar's name was in the public realm was when the day before the governor got out of the race, said he wasn't going to run for re-election. She met with him, and I was amazed at how little reporting was done on that. Now, here I go speculating, although I call it informed speculation. Why would the governor decide he's not going to run? He would decide not to run because he saw polling data that said he couldn't be reelected and he would devastate the down ballot candidates, right? There might be other reasons, but if you look at history, that would be the reason. Who showed him the polling data? Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. One thing, Mark, to consider is there's not really a lot of folks actually talking about the poll that was done prior to Tim Walz announcing that he wasn't going to run. Amy Klobuchar was in that poll.
Yeah.
So you know, no one's really surfacing that and talking about it.
Yes, sir. I am right now, but I'm also talking about
that conversation. That conversation was intentional. You know, it was really to be able to highlight the weakness of the governor and how not to drive the Democratic Party in the ground through the gubernatorial election.
Yeah. Do you know that, Brian? Do you know that, Brian, or are you just speculating?
Well, the poll was done. That's public. But do you know
what
out there?
Yeah, but do you know what Senator Klobuchar said to the governor in that meeting?
Mark, I'm just guessing about how politics goes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Senator Klobuchar is the leader, the titular leader of the state. She's the most popular Democrat in the state. So you can't tell me that she's going into the governor a little bit kind of reminiscent of what happened to Joe Biden, that your weakness and someone talking about that needed to be a leader in the state to be able to tell Tim Walz.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're 100% correct on my more than a theory, and I believe there may have been private polling data that showed that she was going to devastate the ticket and that she forced him out. So she forces him out. Then she lets it be, there's a speculation here, informed speculation. Then she lets it be known through aides. I'm seriously thinking about running for governor myself. Haven't made a final decision. And again, now we'll get to what's her motive. She wants to cape there for being a wipeout of the Democratic Party in the midterms. There's a Senate race too. She wants to maybe be governor herself to get out of being one of 100. And if she wants to be president, and trust me, she does, better to be president as a governor than as a senator. History makes that quite clear. So, Amy Klobuchar, invisible, amazing to me, most popular Democrat in the state, a former prosecutor, a very media-savvy individual, has been invisible on this story until last night and then today. And here's what she said. It's a long soundbite, but worth listening to it all. And then Ed and Brian will review. Please play Amy Klobuchar.
They are chasing down legal citizens in parking lots and wrestling them down, as the Congresswoman just noted, in front of Menards and in Targets. But instead of de-escalating the situation, the administration has doubled down. People are saying, look at my passport, look at my passport. Legal workers at our airport, Native Americans are being targeted on the way to their jobs. I recently met with principals in city and suburban schools in Minnesota, and they told me the horror stories of little kids scared, teachers being wrestled down in front of them in their school parking lot, graduates being stopped. And now the administration has chosen to send even more ICE officers, to the point now where there are nearly 3,000 of them, which is significantly more than the 1,100 sworn officers in Minneapolis and St. Paul combined, and equal to the sworn officers in 10 metropolitan police departments. This is completely, as the mayors know, out of balance, and it is chaos. We are telling our people who are so offended for their neighbors and are standing up, not just in organized protests, but are just standing up when they see it happen in stores. We are telling them to be peaceful and not to take the bait from the threats coming out of the White House, because in the end, these people would not be here from all over the country if they didn't believe that democracy will prevail, that the rule of law will prevail. but this is who we are in Minnesota. We are the people that slide down icy hills to get to a protest. We are the people that quietly and loudly come together to help our neighbors. We are the people, in the words of Renee Good's wife, Becca, lost the love of her life, a mom of 3, who said that we must reject hate and embrace compassion. So that is what I hope our representatives will pick up from their time in Minnesota and from our incredible witnesses today, that we're standing together, regardless, Democrats, Republicans, even though some people are louder than another. People know that this invasion is not what our state is about, and we're going to stand up.
So there's subjectivity in evaluating performance of people in public life. We saw that this morning when we looked at some video of Gavin Newsom with Ben Shapiro. Some of our community felt Newsom was awesome. Some felt it was a disaster. Ed Rogers, I look at that, my subjective view, because I share your high view of Amy Klobuchar, and I say, how different would this be if that woman, the most popular Democrat in the state, an experienced prosecutor, if she had been speaking out instead of the governor and the mayor for the last week plus? What do you think of that premise?
Well, things couldn't get worse. And yeah, she would be better just as a calmer, more mature presence.
Yeah.
And I mean, she had a scripted play to the blue script there. There was no acknowledgement of, I thought it was interesting, she used the word invasion, but nothing about the notion of the invasion that took place that has led ICE to Minnesota's door in the first place. Not even a tip of the hat that there's another problem here that's driving this. But I'll defer to Brian on how this will go down with the Democrat audience.
Brian, I take Ed's point in the sense that she was not a unifying figure there. She was a rally the base figure. But I just find her presentation to just be head and shoulders above Keith Ellison, the mayor, the governor, the members of the House. Thoughts on her absence, previous absence, and now presence?
Well, Mark, you've said that a couple of times. I'm not sure that I'm so stuck on the fact that she wasn't in that. I think there was a lot of stuff that was going on in the state, a lot of different, activity with between ICE and law enforcement, between ICE and individuals. And I did get stuck a little bit, Ed, on what you picked up too, was I picked up on the word invasion. I do think that Amy wanted to be thoughtful about what she was doing. She wasn't in the state at the time. She went back for a field hearing to do this, and she appeared in a number of different forums today. So I think you're going to hear a lot more from her. I think you're going to hear a lot less from everyone else.
Yeah.
But I think that's what the voters see.